Blinded Ascents, Chapter 1, Prayers Answered. Author's note. I'm revising my first chapter because it was so freaking mad at it. So here's the new and improved version. It's not that different, I just cleaned it up, so here. Rated T for terrific. Title will not change. Thank you. Now please enjoy. Chapter 1. Atem was livid. Enough was enough. He was sick and tired of these suitors. Day in and day out his father, the pharaoh, forced him to sit in court as he had women prance in and out on fine platters like they were dinner entrees. They flaunted themselves, tried to seduce him, and did everything in their power to try and win him over. But Atem didn't care. At first he gave each woman the benefit of the doubt. He would spend time with them and learn about them, but eventually each woman turned out to be the same thing, a heartless creature who only offered herself to gain money or power, or money and power. Some even wanted to marry him just because of his attractiveness. That was the worst of all. Atem hated it. It was a steaming hot summer day, and the court servants fanned the pharaoh and the crown prince fervently as they brought young girls of beauty and wealth. How about this one? The pharaoh asked after each girl, just as always. Prince Atem didn't care. He didn't give any girl grace. He would always flick his wrist as if to say, not interested, and that is what he did after the latest girl as well. His senses had always deceived him before. A girl would seem attractive and kind, but they were all after the same thing. He had decided to give up, to no longer give a girl a chance, but his father wouldn't hear it and forced him to stay, praying he would give someone a chance. And his prayers were about to be answered. Suddenly the courtroom doors burst open. "Let me go!" a voice rang through the palace. It was like the voice of a very young girl who had lost all hope. The tone was strong, yet broken like a young filly born into a stable of working horses. It knew it was doomed to a life of servitude, but it hadn't completely surrendered yet. The girl came into view, dragged in by 2 guards. She was quite pale, but dressed in Egyptian attire. Her tricolor hair made her look as if she could be related to the prince, but instead of extending out in long streaks, it was tied down, blonde bangs matching the prince's. She looked no older than 12, if even that. Her eyes were unseen then. As she was being dragged in, they were shut, shielding her soul's true feelings. "Who is this? Why is she interrupting our court?" the pharaoh questioned, standing up from his throne angrily. The 2 guards continued to drag the young girl into the center room and forced her to bow as they did. One of the men looked up and explained, "This is one of your suitors, your highness. She refused to come to your court because her parents just died in a horrible accident and she was grieving." Prince Atem, who was quite bored until that last second, instantly gave attention, taking his head off its perch on his hand. The pharaoh inquired of the girl, "Why did you do this?" The girl, her eyes closed until that very moment, opened. They were a deep purple, beautiful and shining, but the centers where her dark pupils should have been were cloudy, like a silver veil of mist. She whispered in a quivering yet audible tone, "I mean no respect, Pharaoh, but I wish to go home. My parents have been killed, which means I am no longer needed in your court." "Explain," the pharaoh commanded, sitting once again. The girl seemed to look into space as she clarified. "Once my parents died, my riches transferred to my older brother. I can no longer give the prince anything of value." "Announce your aim and age, please," the pharaoh commanded, much softer than earlier. The girl seemed to look past the royals as she reported, "I am Yugi. My official title is Lady Yugi of the Moto family. I am 17 years old, nearing my 18th birthday." Atem was getting frustrated at the girl's lack of eye contact and demanded quite angrily, Look my father in the eye, girl." "You must tell me where he is located first, Prince," came her quiet reply. "Why is that?" the pharaoh inquired. "I am blind, your highness. I have been since birth. Surely a poor blind girl who is not whom do you want by your side of the crowned prince," she answered with some new strength, gulping before she continued. "I humbly ask to be sent back home. I am obviously no longer of any use to you or your prosperous kingdom of Egypt." The pharaoh began to mull this over, but Atem was not about to let that happen, and a plan was forming in his mind, one wonderful and new that gave him hope. He spoke for his father, announcing, "I can't allow this. I wish for Lady Yugi to be given a room to stay in near my chambers in this palace." Yugi cast her clouded gaze towards the stone floor as she was guided away. She had not struggled this time, but delicate tears bounced on her lower lashes as she silently was led out of the courtroom. As the large doors closed, the pharaoh questioned calmly, "Atem, why did you do that? I make the commands last time I checked." Atem knew his father was not one to yell, and these two sentences were more serious than they seemed. Atem pleaded, "Father, please let me explain." The pharaoh sighed but complied, saying, "Yes, son, explain." Atem began, "I have an interest in Lady Yugi. I plan to pretend to be a servant in the palace and get to know this girl. Since she is blind, she will not know that I am the prince." Atem gave a pause to let this sink in as he continued, "I will be her friend and learn about her. Since she cannot see, it will test that she is attracted to me not only because of my outward appeal, because of my charm and personality. If she proves to be a noble woman of character who is not after our money or power or my external appearance, I will marry her. If not, we will send her back home and you may continue to look for a bride for me." The pharaoh thought this over carefully. He weighed this was not the only woman that Atem had put so much effort into testing. Perhaps she was, indeed, a woman of character. It would be nicer to have a noble queen instead of a shallow one. "All right, Atem, I will go along with your plan," the pharaoh agreed, but added, "I hope you know what you're doing." Atem smiled, his first genuine smile of the day, and "Thank you, father. I do know." He walked out of the court, content. Surely this young girl, if anything, would be more interesting than the other suitors. Author's note. I feel better now about this chapter. If you liked what you read, read some more.
Music.
Put your hands, everybody.